everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here to tell you about my latest book, Hollywoke, another novel. Now, for those of you who've been following my videos, you know about Hollywoke hot takes. This is the book version of that kind of. So, this is a sequel to Wokeistan, a novel. Wokeistan takes place in a world in which Donald Trump is reelected and the woke college students of upstate college tear their college apart in the aftermath. And if you haven't read it, it's a satire. It's all about college life and wokeness. Read that one first, although you don't have to read that one to get this one, but, you know, they do sort of link up. Hollywoke takes place in Hollywood, and it's about the movie industry and culture. It's really about the culture war going on in the movie industry. And the first book I co-wrote with Christian Baranek, and this one, she's got so much on her plate, she couldn't really do that much this time around, but rest assured, she did contribute because she was actually a studio exec in Hollywood, and her life experience brought so much to the book. So thank you, CB, and couldn't have done it without you. And this Hollywoke is about that kind of studio process. At the same time, it also is about the wokeness, which I've talked about. And the wokeness is people being super woke. And in Los Angeles, they can't get enough of that virtue signaling goodness, right? It's not enough to make movies. It's not enough to be insanely rich and famous. You have to let everybody know what a good person you are. And what's happening in Hollywood right now is that everybody's tripping over themselves trying to prove, I hate Trump more than you. I am more virtuous than you. I love all these, disparate groups of people who have different races and religions and creeds and sexualities and blah, 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 and on and on and on. Now, in Wokeistan, we drilled down into the wokeness a little more. This is more of a sort of cultural thing. So the main character is Roger Lee, and Roger is a junior studio exec, and he is the junior to a lead exec in RMP Studios, which, all the studios and movies are made up for the novel. And Roger works for a typical movie exec who's he's completely out of control with drugs and prostitutes and money, and he's just utterly spoiled Hollywood legacy kind of guy who doesn't really care about the movies and just runs around like a maniac. Roger, being his junior, actually does the work. He actually makes movies and returns phone calls and emails and all that kind of stuff. So really, he's one of, it's one of those situations where you have, a rich guy who really can't do anything except mess things up, and then an actual competent guy who sort of fronts for him. And as the book opens, the execs are having their meeting at RMP Studios about, what's going to happen in the spring for the summer. Because summer's the big time in Hollywood for all the big movies. And so the Oscars are over, and granted, this is 2021, and they are gearing up for their slate of movies. Now, Roger is the junior for a lead. His name's Zach, and Zach is the head of the live action division. Now, there are many divisions in these big studio companies, and there are many companies, but we've kind of simplified it for the novel. But he is basically in charge of the live action movies. And then you've got a division for animation, for the sort of second tier movies, the mid tier movies as they call them, the kind of movies that go in like hotels or their Lifetime movies or the greeting card channel movies, like those movies. You've got a division for the superhero movies because they're so big, and you've got a division the space movies, the wild space movies, because they're so big, and that's I think you know what those movies are. We can't actually name the. I can't actually name the movies in the book. So obviously we do parodies of all the movies, but you kind of get it. And so it's sort of business as usual as the book opens, and there's a bunch of craziness that goes with that. But it's the wokeness that's slowly creeping in. That one of the studio execs is just relentlessly woke, despite the fact her movies don't make any money, or are losing money, I should say. It's not that they don't make money, they're losing money. And they're, some of the old timers at the studio are aghast that this person keeps losing money and no one's willing to fire her yet. But her time is coming. And then, during the course of the novel, things change. I don't want to tell you too much, you ruin the story, but it's all about the studio exec trying to save the studio and movies and to some extent comedy, because he wants to go back to the studio doing comedies, but the studio won't let him greenlight anything because we all know how Twitter reacts to comedies. So basically ends up doing a secret project, and sort of, well, I don't want to give too much away, but you'll see it. And throughout the book, we're taking movies and celebrities and kind of changing them around, but you can kind of figure out who we're referring to. And some characters are compilations of several celebrities or several people we met, and some are just straight up parodies of particular celebrities. Two of the characters from Wokeistan escape Wokeistan, if you've read the book, and they end up in this novel as more main characters. Roger's the main character, and you follow him throughout the book, but there are strong supporting characters whose stories we follow along the way, but it ties in at the end. So that those two characters are pretty fairly crucial to the climax of the book. We also make fun of social influencers, comic book people. Oh yeah, we get the comic book guys good in this one. This one has a massive chapter on the comic book industry, as Roger has to get the license, a license for one of the comics, and has to go into the comic book division, and it's just a damn nightmare. So there's all those characters, and and there's some old Hollywood guys, but mostly it's a lot of what we did in Wokeistan, except applied to Hollywood. It's a satire, so it's biting and it's tragic but funny at the same time, because you can just see these people are so blinded by their wokeness, by their virtue signaling, they just can't help themselves. It doesn't matter their money, their fame, or whatever. They constantly virtue signal and cannot break from that. And partly it's due to money, but mostly I think it's due to ego. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny moments in it. And I got a third novel in mind as sort of a topper to it all. But, in this world, Trump is president, so he gets reelected. So, and we don't really talk about the election in this. So I think, even if Trump somehow loses this, the book will still stand. I think it'll be fine on its own. I think it's still valid, all the, criticisms of Hollywood, because it's not really about Trump. It's about people's reactions to Trump, people's reactions to their audience. So if Trump does lose, I'm not sure how we're going to do the third novel. Maybe we'll just do it and pretend like Trump won, and it didn't really make much of a difference in that area, or what a Trump presidency would have been like right after the first one. We'll see. But Hollywoke's a lot of fun. It's longer than Wokeistan, but it's going to be the same price. Right now I got the ebook up for $3.99. Same price as Wokeistan. And I should have the trade paperback files processed today. Probably won't be up and ready by today because Amazon has to approve them. The full book The paper book will be $8.99, and it'll look like this. Have the same cover. I got to figure out what's going to be on the back cover. But check it out. I hope you do, and I hope you like it. And thanks for listening. We will see you on the next one.